Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is about the sewing tutorial of this trendy gown. Thank you so much for the love you guys showed me on the last post. I'm so much grateful. And also this video is a very detailed video that will show you how to start from the beginning to the end on how to sew this. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're new here, please definitely hit the subscribe button. Please share this video, leave me a thumbs up on this video, okay? And also leave me a comment. Let me know if you're going to be recreating this. So let's start sewing from the front, okay? So be sure to notch this place. There's a reason why I'm notching this place, okay? So let's do this. So I'm just going to open it like this. This is going to look like. So this is just how the front is. So later on, you're going to open this place up, but let's finish with this first. So I had to cut out this thing just to use as a decorative piece here, okay? Nothing much. I think I'll just have to slit this into two. Okay, so you can always iron before you start doing this so you don't end up making mistakes. So what I'm going to do is just to fold it in here and also fold this in here as well, as if it's a bias tape. So something like this. Then I'll place it here. Be sure that it's at the center of the notch place. So you just place it there, okay? Then you now sew it down to this place. So I'm also going to repeat the same thing at this other side as well, okay? So once you're done, it should look like this, okay? So what I'm going to do now is just to cut the center front into two. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to try and attach this place together. Okay, so with this, I'm going to bring in the front part like this, okay? So we are going to try and you can always pin this down first of all, okay? So you can be sure that everything sits where it should be, okay? So you can always go ahead and pin that out, there's no problem. So you must always start from the center front to close down to the side. So just in case there's any surplus or whatever, you can always cut it out, do you understand? But always close from the center front down to the side. So I'm going to place this. I'm going to place this like this. So be sure that everything aligns together as you are sewing, okay? So most preferably, you can always use your pins in place, very important. Another thing is that this fabric now, you can always use a combat fabric, okay, to make the fabric a bit stiff. You can use a softer combat fabric to sew this style. It will give you that firmness, okay? This one is very soft, okay? So you can always use a combat fabric to give you the firmness that you need. So using a 1/4 inch, I'm just going to sew this down. So as you're sewing it, be sure that you're not dragging the material. Just allow it to be on its own, like this, okay? Don't drag the material, just allow it to be on its own. Because if you drag the material, you end up adding in more inches on either of the two sides, which will not be okay for you. So just don't drag it. So as you can see, it's looking very nice right now, okay? So what I'm going to do is just to take this to my ironing board and then just try and iron this place out, okay? So this is going to look like once you're done with both sides. It's supposed to look something like this. So this is the center front and this is the side. So this is how it's looking like now, okay? So now that the front is done, okay, this is two of them. Let's move over to the back. So for the back, I'm just going to insert my darts So I'm going to insert my dart from here down to where the chest line was. So when you fold it in, you remember you're going to be marking out your 1 inches. Sorry, your 1 inch. I keep on saying 1 inches. You're going to mark out your 1 inch, okay? So it's our tape. You're going to mark 1 inch from the center here. Then this way you're going to start inserting the dart. So for this, I'm going to be using 8 inches. Okay, this is almost at the chest line. So I'm going to be using 8 inches here. So now that we have picked in the 2 darts from the back, what I'm going to do is to fold this into 2. Okay, as you can see, it's aligning. Then we are going to, from the center front, I'm going to mark out 1/2 inch from the center front, which is somewhere here. Okay, this 1/2 inch from the center front. So now I'm going to be cutting above that. So I'm going to cut out that 1/2 inch and finish it up somewhere here. The reason why I'm doing that is because sometimes the back used to look like it's a bit longer than what it should be. So that's why I want to cut that place out so that the back can lap very well. So I'll just trim that place off. So the next thing to do is for us to attach this skirt region to the front part, okay? So what I'm going to do is, so remember we actually cut open the front. So this is what we are going to do. So let's place this here. And then using 1/2 inch. So remember we actually imputed 1/2 inch. So we are going to be using 1/2 inch to sew. Okay? Okay, so once we get here, all what we need to do now is to make sure this place aligns together. So the remaining part here is what we're going to be using to insert our box split directly at where we have this, where we inserted our dart. So you're going to fold it this way, and also the remaining part should come this way. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like. So still using the 1/2 inch, we just sew on top of that, and then we'll sew it to the end. So that once you're done and then you open this up, you're going to have something that looks like this. Okay, this is how mine looks like. Okay, so the next thing for us to do is for us to close the front. So before you close the front, you have to bring in your zip. So this is the zip I'm going to be using for this front. It's looking very beautiful. So I got this zip for 500 naira, so just in case you're wondering. So this is what you're going to do. I'm going to bring this zip here. Okay, so the ending point is supposed to start from this place. The zipper here is supposed to start from the ending point of the fabric. Then we are going to drag this down. So be sure not to drag the material, just in case you're using something soft like my own. That's why I say she use combat to make it very firm and much beautiful than this my own. So you now drag it down to this point. Okay, so this is where the zip is going to stop. So what we're going to do is just to take this out. Okay, so remember we used 1/2 inch for this. So let's mark out the 1/2 inch first. Okay, so this is 1/2 inch, so it's actually exactly where it should be. So I'll just drop my presser foot there. Then I'll now use that 1/2 inch and then sew directly to the end of the fabric. As you're sewing, like I said, don't drag the fabric, just sew it the way it is. once I got to this point, I had to change my mind for my own. So if you want to sew it directly the way it is on that style, just go ahead and sew straight to the end. Okay, you have exactly what you have on that style. So what I'm going to do for my own is this. What I have here is 17 inches left. So I have 17 inches left, so I'm just going to stop it here, so I can just have a little style in front, just an opening in front. So that's just the only thing there. Okay, so the next thing to do is to work on the back. So remember to notch the center of your back and also the center of the skirt for the back as well. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. So you're going to bring in the center here. So I'm going to sew down that center first, just to hold it in place, because this material keeps going up and down. So the next thing we are going to do is to start sewing from the side. So from this place, you are going to start sewing with your 1/2 inch. Okay, so just like what we did in front, you are going to do your box split here. So just fold in this place here. As you can see, I'm not using any measurement, so I'm just folding it in to be sure that there is no lapses here. Okay, so we'll just fold it in and also bring this one in as well. So you can always rewatch this part so you understand what I'm doing, just in case you don't know how to insert a box split. So be sure that there are no excesses here and also here as well. Everything should come in here. So you place this on top here and place the other one. Then you now sew with your 1/2 inch straight line. Okay, so just sew it down to this place. Then we are going to repeat the same thing here as well. That is it. So once you turn the back this way, you should have something that looks like this. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, so the next thing to do is to iron it out. So I've taken this to my ironing board and I've also ironed the seams out. Okay, it mustn't really be neat, so make sure that the seams are ironed out properly. And also the fronts here, I've also ironed the 1/2 inch in. Okay, so we can put our zip easily. So be sure that everything aligns. Okay, so if you're dealing with a tricky material like this that keeps moving from one place to the other, before you insert your zip, I would advise you pin them down first. Do you understand? Just pin it down first on the zip, because it's going to sit like this on the zip. So you can always pin this down. That's if you're not a pro at using material like this. Pin it down first before you go ahead to sew, so that you'll not end up with a situation whereby when you get to this point, okay, one is here and one is here. I don't know if you understand. Also at the waistline, so you not have the situation whereby when you come here, instead of it aligning together like this, it will not end up looking like this, because materials like this can tend to stretch themselves out, especially while you are sewing on a zip. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. So I've already gotten used to fabrics like this. So what I'm going to do is just open my zip, and then I'm going to place this here. Okay, I'm placing this directly here. I'll just take it in, place my stuff, my this thing, and then I'm going to just sew it down. As I'm sewing, be sure to not drag either the zip or the fabric. Just keep sewing it down. Okay, So for me, because if I end up using a tight stitch, it will definitely stretch out the material. So I'm using the loosest stitch ever to put this down first. Now after putting it down, if I notice it's still very loose, I'm going to now use a tighter stitch and then sew on top of it. So that's what I'm going to do. So as you can see, everything has come together now. So you can see here is matching, and also here matches as well. And then the zipper is looking very neat in front. So we're just going to take this out. So what I'm going to do now, okay, since this is sleeveless, so somehow it's going to try and poke up a bit. So let's try and pick in that here. So you can just decide to choose any place you would like, okay, but be sure that it's actually aligning very well. Once you pick the place, okay, try and note your fabric and be sure it's going well the way you want it to be. So I'm just picking this, then I'll just have to mark 1/2 inch. So this is 1/2 inch. Then I'm just going to sew it down. Now the length of this dart is going to be 3 inches, okay. So I'm sewing it in down to 3 inches. So you end up having something that looks like this once you turn it around. So I will take this to my ironing board and then iron out this dart. So I'm going to do the same thing to this side as well. So I'm going to cut the zip excess out. Okay. So the next thing for me to do now is to attach the shoulders together for both the front and the back as well. So the next thing to do is to measure around your neckline. So after measuring around my own, I have 17 inches. Okay, as you're measuring, be sure you're not dragging the fabric. Okay, so I have 17 inches. And now let's cut out the 17 inches on another fabric. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be using to turn the neck. Okay, so I'm still going to explain what this is. So I have finished ironing it out. So this is how it looks like in full. In full here, I have almost 3 inches. Okay, now I folded a 1/4 inch in here, and I also folded 1/2 inch towards this side. Okay, this is 1/4 inch and this is 1/2 inch here. Let's see if it's even up to 1/2 inch. Okay, yes, so this is 1/4 inch on top and this is 1/2 inch below. Now what's going to happen is this. I'm going to open this. Okay, now I'm going to sew it down like this. Okay, and if you are seeing what I'm doing, so the 1/4 inch is still folded while I have opened the 1/2 inch out. Okay, now I'm going to sew this place with a little curve here.
out. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm still going to be using a 1/4 inch to sew that place, this place out as well. So once I'm done sewing it down, I've sewn down the both sides. I'll just have to trim this place off. Then I'll flip it over to the right side. So this is how it's going to look like once you flip it over to the right side. Okay, so I'll show you how to attach this part, but let's just do the same thing to this other side as well. So once you're done, be sure to lay it out and then measure and be sure that it's 17 inches. So that if it's more than 17 inches, okay, this is very okay for me. If it's more than 17 inches, you can always sew it out. Okay, it's okay for me, but I think it still has a little bit of surplus, so I'm going to just take that tiny part out. So the next thing to do is to attach it to the neckline. Now remember the 1/2 inch that we left out. You're going to bring that 1/2 inch here and then place it, the right side should face the wrong side of the fabric, so place it like this. Okay, so we're going to place it like this. Then we are going to sew using that 1/2 inch. We are going to sew it down. So be sure not to drag your fabric, okay? So if possible, use a loose stitch first to sew them down before you, okay, just to secure it in a safe place. So once that is done, we are going to turn this in like this. Okay, so this now becomes the top. So what you're going to do is just to place it here, and then using your 1/4 inch or just a little bit of it, just sew down to the end. Okay, so that way the neckline will come out looking very neat. So just you can use your loose stitch to sew, there's no problem, but be sure to not drag your fabric. Okay, so once that is done, your neckline is very ready. So if you look at it, the inside looks very neat as well, so you can just always go ahead and then iron this out. The inside looks very neat, and also the outside looks very neat as well. So I'm going to be inputting pockets in my own. So this is a pocket I cut out. So what I have here is 11 inches in length by, this is scattered already, so this is by 8 inches. Okay, 11 inches by 8 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and smoothen this place out down to the end from here. Okay, so it's entirely optional. If you want to do it like this, there's no problem. If you want to keep it the way it was, it's still not a problem. So I will sew this place once I'm sewing on the fabric, but this is where I'm going to attach to the fabric. So just in case you're wondering, the pocket is double. Okay, so I have 4 pieces. This is 2 and this is 2, which is making it 4 pieces. So let's bring this one first of all. So I'm going to place it here. Okay, now I'm going to measure from my 1/2 inch, from my half length rather. My half length, I'm going to measure 4 inches from my half length. That is where the pocket is going to start from. Okay, so this is 4 inches, so I'll leave like 1/2 inch on top. So this is 4 inch now. This is where the pocket is going to start from. Okay, so after the 4 inches there, we're going to, from that place, mark 5.5 inches, or better still 6 inches will still be okay. Okay, so 6 inches here. So I'm going to sew directly from that place and then stop at that 6 inches. So that's what I'm going to be doing to both the front and the back. So everything should start and then stop here. So if you measure it out, this is going to be 6 inches. Okay, this is 6 inches. So do the same thing to this side of the front and also the other side of the back as well. So for the armhole, I'm going to be using this bias tape to turn around the armhole, because I was looking for this same type of bias, but I don't have it and I don't want to use black, so I'm going to be using this to turn around the armhole. Now you can also use lining for this. Do you understand? That before you start sewing and attaching it to the waistline, if you want to use lining, you can always go ahead and then use lining. It will be much better. But since I didn't have lining, so that's why I had to settle for this instead. So on the right side, I'm going to place the bias tape here, and then I will use the 1/4 inch and then just sew it round, okay, to the end of the other part of the armhole. As I'm going, I'm also being very careful so I will not end up stretching it. I'm being very careful so I will not end up stretching it out. So I'm going to sew this down to the end. So once I'm done, okay, I'll turn it like this. I'll fold this in and then I'll fold this one down here, okay, towards the inside. Then I will just sew it. So this will help keep the sleeves in place and also make the inside look neat. So once you're done sewing it, it's going to look like this, okay? So this is how the finish on the inside is looking like. It's looking very neat, okay? I'm going to overlock this. Then this is how the outside is looking like. This is how the main part is looking like. It's also looking very neat as well. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other parts of the sleeves. Okay? So once I'm done, the next thing is for me to close the armhole. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to, from here, okay? So what I'm taking in from this place is this 1.5 inches that I'm using to take in from the armhole, okay? So if it is still too wide, I will see how to shape it in, but I'm taking 1.5 inches there. Then gradually we are going to bring that down to 1/2 inch. So on the waistline here, we're going to be taking 1/2 inch, okay? Since that was what we had initially. So if after sewing the 1/2 inch and it still looks big, then you can now shape it again to your taste, okay? So right now I'm going to be using 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to bring this down to the 1/2 inch. Okay, then from there now we are going to be sewing it down using the 1/2 inch there. So I'm going to show you how to close these pockets. So once you sew it down to this point, okay, you lift your presser foot, you turn it like this. So be sure that the pockets are actually aligned the way it should be. You place it down and then you start sewing. Once you get here, you place your needle, you lift it up again, you turn it around and then you place it here and then sew it down. And when you get to this place, you place your needle there again, you lift it up, you turn it around. Be sure this place actually aligns together. Okay, be sure it's aligning. Place your presser hooks and then sew it down. So you have to sew it into the 1/2 inch again. Okay, so that once you turn it around, it will be easier for you to sew it out straight. So that way you've actually inserted your pocket alongside. So once you open it, there's going to be an opening here in front. So let's just sew this to the end, then you repeat the same thing to the other side. So after closing down the side seams, what I'm doing now is just to hem around the down part of the gown. Okay, so I'm just using a 1/4 inch, or just fold in something small like this, and then just sew it down. Okay, so just sew this down to the end. So once you're done with this part, all you need to do is just to go and iron it, and then your gown is ready. So you put it on and then see how it is, how the first fitting is. So if you need to reshape it again, you can always shape it to your taste.